All right, so seems that we are finally live. Welcome everyone. We're just waiting for people to hop in. Today's talk is going to be about content marketing agencies, internal processes, best practices. And I have brought with me two of the best professionals that I could think of to talk about these agencies that I'm a big fan, huge fan. So before we start, just waiting a couple of minutes for us to get started. If you want to introduce yourself in the chat, that would be awesome. Yeah, so let's just waiting for people to hop in so we can get started. Just one extra minute. All right. Welcome everyone. So we usually have a pretty global audience in such talks. Last time we were able to cover at least every continent. Check out AirPods Max. All right, so I got Alex in the comment section, people from YouTube. This is a live transmission that is currently on YouTube, also on LinkedIn event. We got people from Las Vegas. That's awesome. I heard things are opening up in Las Vegas, so it must be pretty good over there. Toronto, Ontario, São Paulo, Brazil. Right, got people from more São Paulo. We got Bianca, João, Matheus, Benson. Awesome, guys. Nicaragua, Managua. Awesome, guys. So just to give you guys a quick brief intro about our host today, we have got Benji. Benji, thank you so much for joining us today. Benji is the co-founder of Grow and Convert. It's the conversion-focused content marketing agency. He's also a partner on spinrate.com. And previously to that, he co-founded Roundtable, which was acquired in 2017, and also ran marketing for two venture-backed startups post Series A. Welcome, Benji, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Cool. And we also have Fabio. Fabio Melo is the co-founder and CEO of Hubify. He's currently, it's one of the Brazilian's best digital transformation agency in 2020. He's passionate about marketing, sales, and people. And thank you so much for joining us today as well, Fabio.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Awesome, guys. So without further ado, let's get to it. My first question was actually for you. I know that I gave a brief introduction about you guys, but if you could, Benji, if you want to start with that, tell us a little bit more about Grow and Convert, what you guys do, and what is your position on that besides being a co-founder?
Yeah, I guess the origin story started back when I was running marketing for those two venture-backed companies. One of the channels that I wanted to grow the first company through was content marketing. And when I started to do some research on content marketing agencies and reaching out to various ones, I realized that none of them really held themselves accountable to leads or conversions, and most of them were just glorified writing services. And so they held themselves accountable to the number of pieces per month or some traffic or that kind of stuff. And so I opted to end up building the content marketing operation in-house for those two businesses. Both of them grew mainly off of content marketing. And then fast forward to starting Grow and Convert was a blog when we first started off, just teaching content marketing. And then 2 years into the blog, we transitioned it to an agency. And when we decided we wanted to do an agency, that was the problem that we wanted to solve for, was an agency that held themselves accountable to the same metrics that the company actually cared about, which was signups for SaaS businesses or demos for SaaS businesses potentially, and just the same end goal as the client. So that's kind of what we do, is we do that all through blog posts. We do customer research, we produce the blog posts, We promote the blog posts through paid and organic, and then we report on how many conversions that we bring in for these companies.
That's awesome. I want to put a pin into that because I want to come back to it a little bit later. But prior to that, Fabio, what about you? What is HubFi and what do you guys do? What is your role at the company?
Okay, I will start with my role. I like to say that it's special, it's different because I'm actually a lawyer, and so
that's a surprise.
I started, I started the digital marketing and sales path in 2011 when we co-founded a startup called Elefante Verde, like green elephant in English, and basically our startup was about digital marketing, but we were focusing in very small business. We opened at that time like a franchising operation, so we had more than 100 units all over Brazil. But some things didn't go well as we wanted, and in 2016 we started HubFi as a digital marketing agency, and we are in this business was so good in the first 2 years that we closed Green Elephant, Elefante Verde, and now we are this HubFi. It's a my role in the company has changed as the company is changed. Has changed as well, or is growing, because 2 years ago, for an example, we were like 30 people here in HubFi, and now we are almost 100. So the role is changing all the time. Nowadays, I like to say that my role here is more to manage people, manage our culture, and bring the vision to the HubFi's next steps.
Perfect. So if I'm getting this right, Benji and Convince and Convert are more content oriented and result and focus more on the results than in the process of writing, while HubFi actually the scope that you guys provide is actually broader in that sense, that it's not only content but also other digital marketing services. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. We like to say that the digital marketing that we do is to help companies to get their success, and success means different to each company. So we like to understand what they need, what are the targets, so we build a customized strategy to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And for us, we only do written content, but the way that I would describe it is, if you were looking to build out a content marketing operation, instead of hiring a full team, we just take care of everything for you. Writing is still a big component of it, and the way that we do writing is still a big component of it. But our main focus is driving new customers through content on paid and SEO.
Cool. And in regards to that, Benji, so like, although the main focus, like, you guys are results oriented, right? So basically do what you got to do to actually deliver the clients new revenue and customers, etc. But the main focus is still content. So in regards to content, my question is, how do you guys produce? What is the process of actually producing content in Grow and Convert? And what I mean by that is, like, do you guys use internal writers? Do you have your own team of writers? Do you use freelancers? Do you guys do a mix of inside and freelancers? Or do you even use your customers' own team to actually help you guys produce more content? How does that work at Grow and Convert?
Yeah, we've experimented with a lot of different stuff over the years. So initially the hypothesis was that we could just hire outside writers, give them a topic, and this is kind of the normal process that companies use, and then have the writer write this content. The challenge with that, especially when you're doing content marketing for a B2B company or a B2C company, where you need to weave the competitive advantage and the product into a lot of the content that you're producing, is that if you have an outside expert or you have a freelancer who doesn't know a lot about the subject matter, oftentimes what they're doing is just Googling around reading things, and then basically trying to compile a lot of that information themselves and regurgitate it back. And what ends up happening is you have content that sits at a knowledge level that's actually lower than the customer that you're trying to attract. And so it doesn't work that well. And so what we do instead is we interview subject matter experts inside of the client's business, because they have in-depth knowledge about the industry, the product, the competitive advantages, all the competition. And so depending on the subject of the article that we're writing about, we would interview someone on their team, do a 1-hour interview, and then our writers are basically journalists producing marketing content for the company. In terms of who we actually hire, there's a rigorous hiring and training process. So every writer that we hire, there's an application which has a series of questions, including portfolio pieces. Davis, who's my co-founder, heads up that writing team, and he's looking for what we call clarity of thought, just clarity in the writing. And then we give every new writer a test piece, and so they would listen to an interview and write the article based off of that to just see how well they do with that. And if they pass that, then they go to writing on a real piece for a client, and then they work with our strategists and continue that process with multiple people. And only after that do we actually onboard them as a writer. And so that's so part of our writing team is freelancers starting off. And so there's different ways that they can be hired, just like legally. We have full-time writers and then also contractors, but all the contractors, they're not just people taken off a list. They've all gone through this training program.
That's awesome. So they might start out as a freelancer, but the idea is that they are dedicated to a specific client, that you guys you actually onboard them, make them go through interviews and really like have a deep knowledge about the client's content and overall strategy.
Yeah. Cool. We usually have 1 to 2 writers on each account. And that way, as you continue writing, you build that depth of knowledge of the client's business. And so over time, there's less interviews required. The writer just knows more about the business.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like by retaining a specific writer for a specific company, you actually have a lower curve, like knowledge or learning curve. It actually slows down. That's awesome. And like Fabio mentioned that they are in like around 100 people at Hubify. What about Grow and Comfort? What is the scale in terms of like internal members?
Yeah, we have about 25 right now total. And that includes everyone from our strategists to the writers as well.
Awesome. What about you, Fabio? At Hubify, how does the process of actually producing content works? Do you guys rely singularly on freelancers? If it's on freelancers, is there a team for each of your customers? How does that work at Hubify?
Okay, so here we basically, it's a little bit different because nowadays we have like 74, 75 clients, and most of them, probably something over 70% of the clients, they have smaller projects, like 4 pieces of content month or 8 pieces of content month tops. This 70% of our clients. So the budget is smaller, and we need to do something cheaper. Even though we look at the quality for sure, but we use 100% freelancers to write the pieces of content, and our internal team is in charge of the strategy. So our team do the research, our team interview our client, but we usually don't interview the client's client, the customers of our client. We send our client the subject, we send our client the strategy, usually 3 months. We broke the year in 4 pieces of 3 months. The clients approve, they ask for some changes, then we send the contents to produce with the freelancers. And so when we get back the content, we put them on blog, and we also deliver them by email, by social media, and some other channels.
Cool. And Fabio, so if I'm getting this right, the level of interaction between Hubify and its customers, it happens on a quarterly basis where you present them their strategy, like what you're going to be working on over the next 3 months. But what is the level of interaction between the Hubify and its customers? Meaning, do they approve an idea for a new piece before you guys produce? Or do they approve after it's already produced? Do they give you the liberty to actually just do it on your own? What is the level of interaction between the agency and the customer?
They always approve the idea, and they always approve the content. I think that's the key of the success as well. I don't like to work in something that some agencies I know they like, oh, give me everything, you don't need to approve, I do by myself. And 2 or 3 months later, the client is coming to complain. No, you didn't get it. No, it's not good. So here in Hubify, each of our clients, they need to approve the idea and they need to approve the content. It's also an opportunity to learn more about the business, because we know everything about content marketing, digital marketing, but who knows the business is the client. So we need to learn from them. We need to talk to them. We need to engage them in the project, so we can get the result that they want.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Even more so if you're talking about bottom of the funnel content, which goes into deep aspects of the company and its customers and its market. Although you can do a Google search, you're not gonna get to the same level of expertise than you probably will by actually getting close to your customers. And does that work in the same way with you, Benji? Like, what is the level of interaction between Grow and Convert and the final customers? Do they participate in the process, or like, is that a struggle? How does that work?
Yeah, they're very involved. We like to take the lead on the strategy side, but I would say it's the same as Fabio in terms of so just starting at the very beginning of the process. Our process starts with customer research. So we interview people on the sales team, the customer success team, potentially the marketing team, the founder, to try to get that level of understanding of the product, the business, and then also to see where there's agreements and disagreements between different teams. From that user research, that's how we get all the information about the business to be able to then back into the strategy. We actually do bottom of the funnel content first, and then work our way up funnel. And so that level of understanding about the business and the product is extremely important for us. And then once we do that strategy internally, it's kind of the same. We come up with a massive keyword spreadsheet or idea spreadsheet based on what we heard from the team that we think will attract their customers. And then we usually present in the very beginning 3 months worth of content. That way, for approval. And so we explain the ideas, why we're going after each of them, to get their feedback and just make sure that we're on the right track. And if they approve them, then we can kind of kick off those pieces. And as they shake out, we can publish them. And then we usually present new ideas on a monthly basis to them. On the editing side, we have a Trello board that we manage our whole content process. And so they can see when things are in interview stage, writing, client review, and that kind of builds the transparency with the client. They can just see where things are at any point in time. And then when it gets to client review, they do edits. So sometimes it'll be giving us feedback over video, or sometimes it'll just be in Google Docs using suggesting mode and kind of leaving comments in certain sections or actually editing certain sections. And then we take care of the content publishing for them.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And still on that line, and I'm well aware that quantity it's not equals results, or even quality for that matter. Sometimes it goes on opposite ways, by the way. But you guys have probably faced different strategies that require either a large volume of content for any specific customer, or the other way around. Like, you're searching for more customers and you need to scale your agency, and it's its own processes. Benji, if you have gone through that, is there any struggle that you have faced that you could, and how did you overcome that?
So we actually only do 4 articles per month for our clients. So we don't do a large scale at all. I would say the challenge and just scale comes when we're scaling clients, and because every client you add adds more articles per month essentially. But what we do to just solve that is sometimes if we're capped on the writer side or strategist side, we'll just shut down new clients. And so if you were to go to our website right now, we're not taking new clients till August, and that has been that way since the end of April. So anytime we get a massive influx of clients, I think we've had one client close pretty much since November of last year, and then slowly run out of team members. And so we just needed to do a big push on the hiring side and training side. And so in April, we just kind of shut down new clients, really focused on hiring and training over the last few months. And then as we feel like we have writers that are now up to speed and at the quality standards that we want, then we'll start opening up the funnel again and just taking on new clients. And so that's kind of the way that we handle it. I think just from a philosophical perspective, I think the biggest thing that can kill an agency is scaling too quickly, because at the end of the day, your quality of work and your reputation is everything. And so once you lose that, I think you run the risk of starting to lose clients or getting a bad reputation. And so our mindset is that it's better to slow growth and just keep the quality consistently high than really try to push the numbers on the client or revenue side.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And Fabio, like, it seems like you guys have cracked the code on the scale side of things, like keeping the quality while still gathering more customers and delivering more content. Have you guys faced any challenge getting to the point where you are right now with 100 customers and I think you mentioned 100 employees and 70 customers. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yes. Something like that, because
cool.
I'm losing count. we have had a lot of challengers. So when we talk about scale, we are talking about standard. So that's the keyword that we need to keep in mind. How can we do? Can we keep the standard? So, and usually when we talk about scale, we are also talking about speed this scale process. Then that brings another department to the party. It's the HR, because you need to hire good people, you need to train good people, we need to keep good people, so we can grow fast with standard. So I would say that the hardest piece of this issue is hiring the good people and keeping the good people. You cannot scale without the good people, and here in Brazil, it's very hard to hire good people and to keep the good people, because they have more demand every year, and we have technology companies with more money than the agents hiring the best professionals in the market. So
competition is strong.
Yes.
I would say it's the same here. So
okay,
it's so just as challenging, and I feel your pains, and I agree 100% that hiring and training is probably the biggest challenge of the agency overall.
Because if you don't have good people, you don't have standards, so you don't have the quality that Benji just said, and I totally agree with him. If you want to grow, just grow if you can keep the quality. So your brand is your best asset. So
yeah, that makes tons of sense, guys. Is there like so I think Benji mentioned that they might start at a freelancer and they go more into the journalist writing with a marketing perspective. Do you guys have any onboarding process at Hub5, Fabio, where like new employees need to go through before actually handling a customer? How does that work internally for you guys to keep the quality high and keep everyone motivated? Is there any specific tips that you could share with us?
We have an onboarding process, like two weeks. This onboarding process takes 2 weeks, and we also like to make them working too. So if I'm old here in Hub5, and being old in Hub5 means more than 6 months usually, I'm in charge to train some new. We call Hub friends. So you in charge to bring the new Hub friend to understand how Hub5's work, how our process works, how is our standard. So we like to bring the team to help in the onboarding, to help in the training process at the beginning.
All right, that makes sense. And guys, going to another direction, and that might have been the most asked questions from people who subscribe for today's talk, which is about business model and pricing. Some of them have mentioned that they use a per time pricing model. Some others, it's a results-based pricing model. Some others, a fixed retainer. So I'm guessing like there's no right or wrong, but I would love to hear your take on that. Like, how do you guys approach that? Have you tested any different pricing models? What works best? Can I start with you, Benji?
Sure. Yeah, we do a productized service, so there's absolutely no customization at all in our service, and I think that just comes down to what I mentioned in the beginning, is that our goal is very specific, and yeah, we just do one thing really well. We charge $15,000 a month for it. It hasn't always been that way. We originally started at $6K 3 years ago, and then basically we've raised pricing every time we've just had demand outstrip supply, and so. But we've also improved our service as well. I would say the reason that we're able to charge that price goes back to us measuring results and holding ourselves accountable to that, so that we can show the ROI of the service. And so when we work with a new client, there's a couple things that need to happen. One, we don't work with any startups that are unproven. So to check that, they need to have either an inbound channel such as paid ads or cold emails or something that's driving leads to the website and already converting customers, because that tells us if we're building traffic and an audience to their website, it's already proven to convert. So that's one thing. And then I just lost my train of thought. But oh yeah, so going back to then just vetting clients and on the front end. So we try to calculate how many leads that we would need to break even on our investment, and that's the main guiding light of our engagement. And so that's what we report on a monthly basis. So every single month, let's say a company they need 30 demos to break even on a 15K cost. That's like the first goal that we're trying to hit. And so we have an Excel spreadsheet showing where we're at relative to that goal. We make sure that we communicate very early on, actually in the sales call, that this will typically take 6 months to a year plus to break even on that engagement. We actually do month-to-month engagements, and we don't lock people into long-term contracts. And the idea behind that is that we want to prove ourselves to the client on a month-to-month basis, and just we feel like the service is really good, and we're usually able to get results in month 1, month 2, like start seeing conversions come in. And then the key thing is just letting them know that scale will really come when we start ranking for a lot of these bottom of the funnel SEO keywords, and then start layering those on. That's when they'll start to see the conversion graph go up a ton. And so, yeah, that's just our model. I know that there's a ton of different ways to do this, but The service is 4 articles a month in terms of just output on that side. On the promotion side, we do Facebook advertising, Twitter advertising, Google ads. All the Google ads are focused on the same keywords that we're going after on the organic side. The Facebook is meant to drive short-term traffic. The Twitter is meant to drive short-term traffic. Then we do 2 different types of link building. We have a PR agency that we work at that produces data posts and has relationships with publishers that can get it syndicated across 200 publications and immediately drive 200 backlinks of DA60 back to the site. We do one of those at the very beginning, one towards the middle of the engagement in the first year, one towards the end, to just give a big boost in domain authority to the site. And then we also do active link building where we do guest posting one by one to try to move certain articles up. All that spend comes out of our budget. And so again, from just a value perspective, and I think that's how you have to sell this, we're producing content, doing the strategy, doing paid. This is all coming out of just that single 15K a month cost. And if someone was to try to do this on their own or hire a team in-house to do this, it would likely cost a lot more than that. And so that's kind of how we sell the value of the service. And then we just have tons of case studies showing the results that we've generated on our site that kind of prove that we can do what we say we do.
That's awesome. It looks really nice. And like you said something, Benji, that I want to like go back to, which is like another one of the most asked questions from the subscribers, which is how do you create a connection in terms of reporting to the customer, right? You mentioned that like getting to the number of demos needed to actually cover their expenses and make it like ends in a positive end. Let's say that way. How do you actually correlate a content that has been published or with a demo that has been booked? Like, how can you actually prove the value that content marketing is bringing to the overall strategy of the customer? Because ads could, like, if you're sending an ad directly to the booking page, it's kind of like easier to connect both ends, right? But content marketing sometimes is a middle step between like multiple steps process. So how do you actually help your customer see the value that the content marketing actually performed on that process?
Yeah, that's step one so a couple things. One, in the sales call, we just agree upon a number that, again, we need to hit in order to break even. So there's just the expectation setting up front. And then what we actually do on the reporting side and analytics side is step one in the engagement is making sure that we have the right goals set up in GA. And then we use a tool inside of GA called the model comparison tool. And it allows us to see on an article by article basis, the first click conversions and the last click conversions that come from each article. And then you can also view it by channel as well. And so that's the main tool that we use to report. It's not a perfect measure. Again, it's probably underestimating the total amount of conversions that we do drive. But I would say that gives us enough visibility to prove the value of our service. And that's what we use. And we have a couple of articles on our site if people are interested in learning how to set that up. We walk through the whole setup of the model comparison tool. But yeah, first and last click conversions. First click meaning that the first time someone interacted with the site was through this piece of content. Last click meaning that that's the last page that they converted on. Most people are only measuring last click conversions if they use any of the landing page tool or the landing page reports or any of those things out of Google Analytics. And this is the only report that we found that shows that first click as well. And from a content perspective, most people would convert on a first click, because imagine if someone finds you through SEO or through an ad, they click into that, they might need to do a bunch of research, go through the website, click off, and then come back and convert at a later session. So this allows us to see kind of that life cycle of the lead. There are limits. It has to be within a 90-day period. So obviously, again, it's a lower limit, but the tool is good enough to basically prove the value of the service.
Sorry, I was on mute, but thanks for that, Benji. It makes a lot of sense. And I would love to afterwards to dive deep into the tool and how you guys use it, but maybe that's topic for another session. Fabio, like Benji mentioned that they Grow and Convert focus more on startups that have already found product market fit, a scalable channel, and are already doing content and inbound marketing at least at some level, right? What and you mentioned on the beginning of this session that Hubify focus a lot on small and medium-sized businesses. Do you guys have any specific niche that you focus to? And what about also your pricing model or your position in terms of packaging your services? Do you guys have a one size fits it all to all of your customers, or does that actually vary from one to another?
Most of our clients are startups as well, because that's the way we were born, and we still live in the places that we see startups every day. So I would say that 50%, 60% of our clients are startups. But as Benji said, we prefer to work with startups that the business is working. They already have revenue. They already know the target. They already know to whom we need to write, to whom we need to do the digital marketing, and that's because as a business, because Hubify is also a business, we look at the churn rate a lot. So when you work with very initial startups, your churn rate increases, and your business is at risk at that time. So that's why I totally agree with Benji, and Hubify go the same path. How do we charge? Our contract is a little bit different. We like to work in long term. So our contract is at least 12 months for two main reasons. Predictable revenue is one, so it's healthy for our business. And the second one is because we sincerely believe that the outcome after 12 months, especially when you work with content marketing, it's better. So probably here in Brazil, it's a little bit different from America, because most of the companies they just started working with content marketing. They just start working with digital marketing. So it's unfortunately, it's common. We see companies hiring the agents. They do like 2, 3, 4 months, and they say, oh, okay, it's not working. I was expecting more result, and they want to cancel a contract that was doing very well. So that's why we prefer to work in long term. And about the price, about the charge, we work with fixed price. We charge monthly, like a fee. When we talk about content marketing, we charge for piece. So if they want, for example, for pieces of 1,000 words content, so we have a price for that one. But each month they can change. For example, oh, this month I want 2,000 piece content. Okay, we just change, but the price usually is the same. We switch that monthly if the strategy asks for that.
It makes sense. And Fabio, I asked Benji about the reporting side of things, and they try to make a clear connection between the content that has been produced with the leads or bookings or sales that have actually happened. How does reporting works at Hubify? Do you guys do a monthly one or a quarterly one? And what do you usually include on that report?
Yes, we do monthly. Usually we deliver how many leads we get that month, and sales is a little bit hard when we talk about content. Usually when we talk about content, we like to tell our clients that how many words are new in Google, and how many research your company is on the first page. We like to tell about the traffic, how is the traffic is increased, the organic traffic is increasing. We like to compare with the paid traffic, and we also like to tell about the leads. But in my opinion, it's a little bit hard if you focus only on sales or only on leads. It's a little bit hard to say where these leads came from or where the sales came from, because when, especially when you talk about content marketing, people is not in the moment to buy. So sometimes people search a lot, search months, and they click in one advertisement. So, and sometimes you lose the track. Sometimes it's the brother that bought. Sometimes it's the brother, it's the child that, so it's a little bit hard to get the track with the right tools and with the right budget, because we need sometimes to hire to contract a more expensive tool to keep that track.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what Benji was saying, that like you probably generate a lot of more leads than you are actually reporting, or you're actually influencing the sales of more customers than it's included on your reporting, or what your attribution model is able to capture.
Yeah, I would also just say that we make it extremely hard on ourselves. Like to your point, Fabio, it's not a perfect science. Like there's all these limitations. Like there's device limitations with Google Analytics. Like if someone were to view something on desktop and then go convert on mobile, we lose that tracking. Or if outside of that 90-day window, we lose that tracking. So we know that there isn't a perfect science, but and I would say taking this approach definitely makes it harder on ourselves from an agency perspective, for sure. I just think overall taking this measurement focus and kind of leaning into it is something that not a lot of agencies do. And so just from a differentiation standpoint, I think it allows us to really stand out. And I think you just have to over communicate these things to the client at every single stage, that look, this is not perfect. You're likely seeing more customers come in. Sometimes it's getting attributed to branded search or things like that, but it's kind of known on the client side now.
Awesome, guys. So we're approaching like the last 15 minutes of today's session, and I want to pick some questions from our audience on the comment section. Francis has mentioned, like, I think it goes back to what we were talking about, retaining employees and knowledge at the agencies as one of the major challenges or roadblocks for when you're scaling or growing, or even to deliver overall deliver quality. He's asking if you guys were talking specifically about IT professionals or developers, or is that like actually in every area, within every expertise?
Every expertise, everyone.
I agree. I think that's the biggest challenge. Here's the way I think about it. If you lose one person, so let's say to what Fabio said, at 6 months they become experienced in the agency. You spend 6 months training that person, or this person's been working with you for a year. They know the ins and outs of the business. They know the ins and outs of the clients. You lose that one person. Now you have to go through that entire 6 month or year long process again. It's way easier to focus on mechanisms that will keep employees than it is trying to hire new ones. And again, I think we both experience the same thing, where finding great people is an extreme challenge. And so every great person that you find, you need to figure out ways to keep them.
Awesome. Makes a lot of sense. And one extra question from my end. Sorry, Fabio, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that Benji pays in dollars and we pay in real. So nowadays, a lot of outside companies
Yeah,
they are hiring Brazilians
yeah,
paying in dollars, and
Yeah.
they put, if you say 1,000 money, it's different. Okay, I
Yeah.
earned $1,000. Reais is totally different. So it's getting harder for us because American companies, European companies are hiring Brazilians nowadays because of the COVID. People working
Yeah.
at home. It's very common
yeah. I
that we
mean, we don't
lose.
have team members in Brazil, but we do have in
Uh-huh.
Portugal and the UK, and
See?
so we're a fully
Mm-hmm.
remote team, and so we'll take people from wherever. One thing I want to
Mm-hmm.
touch on really quickly that I think is important here is just in terms of retention. I think we do something a little bit different just when hiring and paying people. So we have a flexible pay schedule. There's no set salary for our team. What we do is
Hmm.
people can make more money if they take on more accounts. So there's like a set fee for being a strategist of every account. There's a set fee for writing. There's a set fee for editing. Um, and basically, anyone on our team can choose to take on as much writing as they want, as much editing as they want, or as many counts as they want, or they can optimize
Hmm.
for lifestyle. And I think that kind of flexible pay structure allows people to kind of just do as much work as they want, make as much money as they want, or some of the people on our team also have side projects or other things that are going on, and maybe they only want to take on a couple accounts and make some money here. So because we hire most people that start as freelancers, that allows us to kind of build that predictability that a lot of freelancers are missing from their own freelance work, but then
Yeah.
also offer them the opportunity to make as much and scale with us as much as they want. And so it's kind of a different approach than most companies take. Most do have a set salary and it's capped at a certain level. Anyone on our team
Hmm.
can make as much money as they want if they can do more work. And so I think that has allowed us, I don't think we've lost a person in a year and a half or 2 years. But I think when we ask our team why they like working with us, that's a key component is just the flexibility in the work environment, especially because we're remote
Hmm.
and we also don't have set hours. And so it's just kind of a different way of thinking about the business. Again, I think the only reason that is able to happen is because we do have this productized service that there's clear deliverables on a monthly basis for every
Hmm.
client. And so as long as you get your work done, I don't really care how long people are working or any of that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, and in that model, I don't necessarily need, like, if I was a grow and convert employee, you don't necessarily need to leave if you want to take on another job, right? Like, you can decide to lower down the amount of work that you're taking and take a side project, for example. So that kind of like limits the competition in that sense. That's awesome. So another question is from Bianca, and I want to actually expand that a little bit more. She asked about how important is actually content strategy for your acquisition model. Like, how important is content strategy for you guys at Hubify and Grow and Convert? And yeah, I would love to hear your take on that. I know that, like, I have actually first learned about Grow and Convert and Benji because of their content. So I know they do that really good. It's an awesome like high quality content about that. But yeah, I would love to hear if you guys also acquire customers throughout like different channels or is singularly through content marketing. If you wanna start first, Fabio.
Yes, it's very important to us. And it's very important because of the authority that brings to Hubify. Every time that someone research something about something that we work with, that something that it's our service, it's nice to when they find us. And so the Hubify brand, it's always there, always, and people meet me on some event, meet me or in somewhere. They say, "Oh, Hubify, I have heard about Hub5. Oh, I read something about, oh, yes, another day you wrote a piece of content about return over investment. Oh, and sometimes someone wrote to me, and so that's, oh, I wrote that article. Did you like? Okay, nice. But it's important because our brand is everywhere when our persona is looking for some subjects. So yes, it's important. I cannot say that how many clients came
Yeah.
through the content. It's we said that a couple minutes ago, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that's very important.
Awesome.
Yeah, for us, everyone has come in through our content. So that's the only channel that we use to acquire customers. Part of the strategy, though, is promoting the existing content that we have through paid. So if you followed me, or maybe someone has even seen an ad of me promoting an article, that's mainly just to get, what we found is that people read our articles, that's how they typically find us, and then they do more research into the company, and that's how they become a lead. So we just use basically our own service to grow our clients. And our we've actually had more demand throughout the whole time of our agency, despite even, I think maybe last year we published 4 or 5 articles. We don't publish a high volume. The key is just continuing to promote the foundational articles that explain the value of our service over and over again. And I think that's kind of what allows us to do a low volume per year.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, and my take is like usually by reading a content, like reading a piece of content from an agency, like although you guys both provide content marketing services, it's pretty different the way that you both approach that. So by reading that content, you're not only like positioning yourself, but I can also understand a little bit more of how you approach that, and if that like actually matches with what you're expecting or the culture of our company, and et cetera, et cetera. So
well, I think that's
cool.
because you're selling you're selling a service, and so you're selling your strategy and your thinking. And so I think from that standpoint, it's important for people to buy into your way of thinking prior to reaching out to you.
Exactly. And like it's normally like you should not be like only hiring their hands, but their brains as well. So by reading their content, you can actually like pick up on their line of thinking and what you can expect from that. That's awesome. And guys, like one last question that I have, which was I think the 4th most asked questions from the audience, was about the tools and tips. Like, is there any specific tools that you guys would recommend or our audience to take a look at that has helped you guys scale or manage, or what anything that you use internally for internal process? You want to start, Fabio? Sorry.
Okay, we use a lot of tools. I think one of the first one is the I think there is a new name, the content tools, the workflow from content tools you use to manage all the content that we produce, that we manage, and we also use a lot. SEMrush is another tool that we use a lot here. So I think the 2 most important tools here in Hub5 is the workflow from content tools and SEMrush.
Awesome. Thanks, Fabio. What about you, Benji?
You're in mute.
Yeah, you're still on mute.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. We use Trello for project management, as I mentioned. And then really we just use Ahrefs for the SEO side of things, just to kind of look at domain rating of the different clients and look at backlinks, and then ClearScope to help us optimize the content for SEO. That said, my perspective on tools is you use whatever tool ties in with your own strategy. There's so many different tools out there that do similar things. And I just think it comes down to personal preference. And the way that I think about tools is tools help you optimize or accelerate an existing process that you have. They're not going to solve a problem for you. And I think a lot of people often think, oh, I need this tool to do this thing for me and solve some sort of problem. And that's just not what happens. So if you need help on the SEO side for a specific purpose, you look at what the tool is that's best for that specific purpose, that's the one that you use. I don't think there's like a best tool for content marketing, for project management or SEO or anything like that. And so that's just what I would say on the tools. If people are looking into them, is just use whatever works for you.
And the quality is the king, right? The quality of the content is the king of the strategy. No tool can help you with that.
Yes, you can get better research, better SEO tools, or better keyword planning tools, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to the quality of the piece of content that you're ready for you.
100%.
Awesome. That's one thing that we could all agree from, I think. And yeah, guys, so we're approaching the last 5 minutes, so I want to pick one last question from the audience. Is from Abdul Wahab. I hope I got that right. And his question is, how do you guys work with increasing your agency's productivity? Or I think we approached that a little bit with when we were talking about scale, but is productivity of your employees something that you guys keep an eye at, or how do you guys approach it? You want to start, Benji?
Yeah, I don't know if I think about it that way. Again, kind of going back to the dynamic pay structure. I think, if anything, I more think about it from a burnout perspective, and think I think one risk that a lot of agencies have as they grow clients is that they often just throw more work on their team. And I think that's what leads to employees leaving and burnout. And so we are not really looking at how productive the team is, but mainly how much work can they handle where they're still happy with what they're doing. And if everyone's at capacity in their own, if everyone's at capacity, then it's let's go hire and find more people. It's not, let's throw more work on the team. That's just my perspective on it.
It makes sense. And I think if you're leveling up every single employee that you have on the same level, something's gonna go wrong, because productivity is actually different from one person to another. So if everyone has to produce the same on the same pace, on the same level, etc., something is not gonna be 100% right.
Yeah, so to that point, we have people that run 4 accounts that are maxed out there. We also have people that run 2 accounts and are maxed out there. And so again, it's not the same for every person. And if you were to say every single person on my team needs to have the same workload, well, some of those people are going to burn out, and it's just not going to work long term.
Yeah, thanks for that. Fabio, do you guys keep an eye on that? Is that something that you worry about?
I totally agree with Benji when he says about the burnout. So we need to really to look at that. But when we talk about productivity, in this case, we need to bring technology. We need to bring tools so you can manage easily the production. So you can do more with less. And I have to come back to when we talked about scale. We said about standards, so we said about have the good people. We talked about keeping people. So all this piece together will increase the agent's productivity. So I think that's the path.
Awesome, thanks, Fabio. Yeah, and we are almost out of time here, guys. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining and sharing what you guys are doing and learning through all the years. I'm a big admirer of your work, so thanks for sharing. I have learned a lot. Hope the audience has done as well. So Benji, if you have any final words and let people know where to find you if they want.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm probably most active on Twitter. So it's at Benji Hyam, BenjiHyam. Yeah. And if you guys want to learn our process, we actually have a course that we teach everything from the user research to the strategy to our writing process to how we hire writers. So you can go on our website and it's in the top right corner.
Awesome. Thanks again, Benji. What about you, Fabio?
People can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for my name. And I also invite to look at our blog at our website, just hubfi.com.br. So I think that's it. It was a pleasure being here with you, Pedro, Benji. It was very nice talking to you.
Agreed.
Awesome, guys. So thank you again for everyone who couldn't join. Like, we're going to send the recordings for you all afterwards, and also the transcription of everything that we have talked about together with the links on a follow-up email, I believe, tomorrow. So thanks again, guys, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Cheers.
Cheers.